If you're like us here at Chat Sports, you love football, which, how can you not, right? It's the best sport out there. If you do, show me by liking today's video right now. I think every person who's watching today's free agents, top unsigned free agents video should like it right now. To begin today's show, we're looking at the top 15 unsigned NFL free agents. Not on the practice squad. Practice squad options will come in later. These are all veterans, somewhat notable names who remain unsigned at this point. Number 1 on my list is Odell Beckham Jr. Now, OBJ, of course, is by far the most known name on this list, which isn't a huge surprise. Why he's unsigned, should I mention each of those here? He ain't healthy yet. He's been doing his tour around the NFL. Giants now backlinked to him again, which is pretty funny to me. I think late October, November, we'll get some more Odell Beckham traction at that point. Number 2, Ndamukong Suh, the defensive lineman. He wanted allegedly $9 million, which of course nobody wanted to pay Ndamukong Suh. At his age, despite being productive last year, I am surprised that Suh remains unsigned. So will he play this year? Type in Y for yes after N or N for no. I had assumed he'd be signed by now. I thought after week 1 someone would pick him up. Now we're in week 4 and no one's added him. So I think there is a non-zero chance Suh does not play, whether by his own choice or the teams in the NFL overall. Make those predictions for me in the comment section. Number 3, offensive lineman Daryl Williams. The Jets are down 3 starting tackles. There are all kinds of injuries everywhere. And both Daryl Williams and number 4 on our list, Eric Fisher, both remain unsigned. I am quite surprised by that. You know, Daryl Williams, I know, is aging, has played guard and tackle. I know Eric Fisher, when he got beat bad last year by Indy. 7 sacks allowed is way too many, but the pressures weren't that outlandish. It's all very interesting that both linemen are unsigned. What we do know about this for the NFL, they are ageist. And when you reach a certain age, teams just don't want to add you. I mean, even a team like the Commanders, there's so many teams that could use offensive lineman help. I am surprised nobody's picked up either or even shown that much interest in either guy. Donta Hightower is next up here. Number 5, the linebacker, can play some edge cover. Did begin to decline last year in New England. Kind of wonder if his career is now over. It's like the whole Russell Okung situation. Like, he was top free agent left last year. Nobody picked him up. He's just kind of out of the NFL now. It's kind of crazy how those things can tend to happen to guys that we think have more left in the tank, and turns out they don't. All right, best NFL free agent left unsigned. Who is it? Let me know in the comments section who you think the number 1 top free agent who is not signed with a new NFL team is. It's the pinned comment. If the ad break comes, take advantage. Head down there. Let me know. Number 6, Blake Martinez. He's not good in coverage, but as a run-stopping linebacker, after the Ravens showed interest, kind of thought he might sign. Nobody has, though, at this point. There are decent linebackers out there. We mentioned Hightower, Martinez, one of them. Maybe teams don't value those lack of coverage linebackers these days anymore. Jaquiski Tartt is next up, who I thought was going to start for Philly this year, and then they cut him, and they made the big-time trade for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. That was pretty fun. Tartt is more of a box safety. I'm going to put him in what I call the Trey Boston category. Good player. At the NFL just doesn't like the same way that the fans and some of the media scouts tend to view him. Number 8, Sheldon Richardson. I think he's got one more year, if that, in the tank. He's not much of a pass rusher, still a quality run stopper. If he's your number 3 or 4 rotation D lineman, he can make that work. But here's the issue. When it's the 4th defensive lineman, you typically want to have people who are young, and that's why the NFL is so ageist. I am surprised Will Fuller is unsigned. Now, he was a disaster last year in Miami. There was some personal stuff going on. Before his suspension in 2020, he was on pace for a 1,000-yard season. And here we are in almost October, and he is unsigned. He's not that old. I know the injuries have been a problem, but I really thought Will Fuller would have signed by now. Not the case. I think if you want a receiver who's healthy and not a crazy person, I think Will Fuller's not a crazy person. You know who I'm talking about. I'll get to him in a little bit. Fuller's a good name to consider. T.Y. Hilton next up here. Age and injuries are a big factor here. We know how good T.Y. Hilton once was back in his prime. One of the more, I think, kind of like the divider between true receiver 1 and elite receiver 2. That's what T.Y. Hilton was, and you want those guys on your football team. But T.Y. doesn't have, I think, it in the tank anymore. So if you had to sign one of these two guys, who would it be? WF for Will Fuller or T.Y. for T.Y. Hilton? Sound off for me in the comments section who you think and who you would rather sign at the receiver spot. I mentioned bad offensive line play. Ereck Flowers was not great for the Commanders last year, but he's serviceable. Like, I'm looking at bad O-line plays. I'm like, put Ereck Flowers in there at guard. No one's done so. Maybe there's something we don't know with a lot of these guys on the list. Now, today's show is made possible by our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code NFL Daily. $100 down, an extra $125 for free for you. You are truly playing with house money when you go to BetUS. That way, in case you get some bets wrong, it's okay. You still got extra money left over. Their updated Super Bowl odds: the Bills at plus 450, Chiefs at plus 750, Eagles, the NFC favorite now, plus 800, the Bucks 850, and the Packers plus 1,000. The Dolphins, for you Fins fans mad about that, not in the top 5. Every team is available to bet on. Those are your favorites. Do it with BetUS. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code NFL Daily. Number 12, cornerback Chris Harris. I think he might be done. I was surprised he went for so little when he left Denver, and I was surprised that he's not had any real interest since then. But if you want a corner, that's a name I always like to think about, especially with Xavier Rhodes now no longer a true free agent. Landon Collins is next up. I think if he wants to stick in the NFL, he's got to go at least try the Keanu Neal route of let me play some linebacker, but he didn't want to play linebacker. That 1 year for the Giants will always be remembered. Got in the bag from the Commanders, and it didn't work out at all. Speaking of getting the bag, Dee Ford was traded to the 49ers, got paid, and then really could not stay healthy at all, and that was pretty disappointing from that standpoint. I don't think teams trust the medical at all for Dee Ford. And like Eric Berry, remember him? Remember how he was unsigned for 2 years? The medicals never checked out. If the medicals are a huge issue, teams will not sign you. Number 15, Antonio Brown. Is the talent there? Yes, it is. But at a certain point, I'll lightly term it the BS isn't worth the production. It didn't work in the end with Tom Brady. The last image I think we'll see of now rapper Antonio Brown skipping off the field, that's what it is. Shirt's off, he's skipping off with a foot injury that he lied about because it's Antonio Brown, he can't be trusted. The talent is Hall of Fame level. I think it's still really good. But he's going to sabotage your locker room at some point. Of that, I can pretty much guarantee. Those are the top free agents. Now, in the 2022 version of the NFL, you can also sign players from practice squads. So let's break down then the top 15 practice squad options that if you need some help, you could go push or go poach. Number 15, Flash Gordon himself. He has been called up to the game day roster twice this year. For the Tennessee Titans, he has played a grand total of 18 snaps in week 2, 6 snaps in week 3, and was targeted 1 time incomplete. He's not being used by Tennessee, but clearly their plan is to get him involved there in the offense. So of the two, quote-unquote, troubled wide receivers, if you had to pick one and play on your active roster, who would it be? AB for Antonio Brown or JG for Josh Gordon? Let me know in the comments section. It will come as no surprise to you that there are no good practice squad quarterbacks out there, but Josh Johnson's fun. He has made and I want to see him get another chance with the new team. I want Josh Johnson, as the years go on, to eventually play for every NFL team. It's almost impossible right now, but he's gotten closer and closer. He's nothing special, but he's a good athlete. The numbers are not great either, but if you are in desperate need of a backup QB, I think Josh Johnson's actually a pretty decent option. Number 13, again, there are not many pass rushers who are good out there. Taco Charlton, who former first-round pick, Cowboys legend, and Cowboys bust as well. He has not done much. He is currently on the Saints practice squad, along with Latavius Murray. If you want a running back, decent name to consider. Doesn't have the same juice he does in his prime, but Murray does still have some ability as a backup runner. If you want a run-clogging option along your defensive line, how about Danny Shelton? Again, these are the NFL has kind of tweaked the rules over the years to allow more veterans on practice squad. We're getting that with Gordon and Johnson and Murray and Danny Shelton as well. It used to all be young guys only on the practice squad. NFL giving some vets chances to stick around longer. If you need just a run stopper, former first-round pick Danny Shelton could be that guy. We don't just cover the NFL here. We win free agencies here. We do NFL free agency, NBA free agency, and let's call it what it is, college football free agency now with the transfer portal. We cover all those three things year-round. If you want that coverage, this is your one-stop shop. It's called Chat Sports for a reason. Hit that big red button and subscribe, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Another premium pick here, Marquise Blair, the safety / nickel corner, is now a member of the Panthers. If you want a fifth, safety nickel corner hybrid option, Blair checks out. His stock has kind of fallen. He's never been able to stay healthy, unfortunately. Now, Dalton Keene is an interesting name out here. The tight end, former, I believe, third-round pick of the New England Patriots, is now a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think the Eagles, by the way, overall, I love their practice squad. So many good guys, but I wanted to cap myself with no more than 2 players. Second guy coming up in a little bit. If you want a tight end, Keene's a good name. Brandon Shell, again, he can be an offensive line option for you. He's not great, but he does bring depth. Shell is number 8 on our list. Number 7, Cam McGrone, a former 5th-round pick who fell because of injuries. Patriots practice squad. He's a good athlete. Hasn't been the same since that injury at the end of his career in Michigan. Probably should have gone back to school. But among several good practice squad linebackers, McGrone, a young piece, is one of my favorite ones. Number 6, Joe Schobert, who had just recently signed, by the way, with the Titans practice squad. Keep that name in mind as an option there. Schobert's a veteran. Again, he's not great in coverage. He's kind of we mentioned Blake Martinez earlier. Same player. They can stop the run, but they're not very good in coverage. All right, you got 5 more practice squad guys left here. Who do you think is the best NFL practice squad player out there who you would want your favorite team to poach? Or if you're just a fan of the guy on your practice squad, you can let me know in the comments. One more linebacker, Gerard Davis, back on the Lions practice squad. Former first-round pick. He hasn't been great, but again, these guys are practice squatters for a reason. Number 4, Auden Tate. Yeah, big body guy, has some fans throughout his time in the NFL, flashed some with the Bengals. Guess where he's at? It's Philly. Number 3, Carlos Watkins, who was basically a starter last year for the Dallas Cowboys along the defensive line. Again, decent production last year. 5 tackles for loss, 32 tackles, a sack, an INT. It was a fat guy touchdown, pick 6. It was awesome. Watkins, if you want a rotational defensive lineman, is actually a pretty good piece. I was a bit surprised nobody wanted him to the active roster once the Cowboys cut him. Number 2, Cole Beasley. He is still a practice squatter. Was a game day promotion. You get 3 practice squad promotions for each player. But Cole Beasley, 80 stings himself, is a practice squatter. If you want a slot receiver, that's a name to consider. But number 1, Anthony Harris, who has been a starting safety as recently as last year. He was, I thought, solid-ish for Philadelphia. Denver put him on their practice squad after the Justin Simmons injury. I would not be surprised if soon-ish he got the promotion to the active roster.